Welcome back, everybody. I'm really pumped for this deep dive. We're going to be talking about AI's role in operations,
Mm-hmm.
and it's everywhere, and we've got this fantastic research report from Cognition.Info that kind of lays it all out.
Yeah.
And I learned so much just getting ready for this. It's incredible.
It's a hot topic right now. We're seeing a ton of activity in this space.
But it's interesting because when you think about operational efficiency, I mean, that's not a new idea.
Right.
Businesses have always been looking for ways to streamline and cut costs.
Of course.
So what's making AI such a game changer now?
Well, I think it's a couple of things. One is that those traditional ways of managing operations are really struggling
Mm.
to keep up in today's world, right?
Yeah.
I mean, think about all the disruptions we've seen lately, the pandemic, extreme weather events, geopolitical turmoil.
Yeah,
I mean, cyber attacks, it's kind of endless.
absolutely.
And the report points out that 94% of Fortune 1000 companies experience supply chain disruptions because of COVID alone.
That's a huge number.
It is. It's a staggering number. And it really makes you realize just how vulnerable businesses are to these unexpected shocks, right?
Yeah.
And so that's really where AI comes in. I mean, it offers a way to kind of build in resilience by analyzing huge amounts of data,
Mm-hmm.
spotting those patterns that we as humans often miss.
Yeah.
And then using that information to try to anticipate and mitigate the risk.
So it's like having an early warning system
Exactly.
for all your operations, just constantly scanning the horizon for
Yeah.
any kind of disruptions that could be coming.
Precisely. And it's not just about reacting to the problems either, though, why AI can actually help businesses become much more proactive.
Okay.
For example, the report cites cases where manufacturers are using AI-powered predictive maintenance
Oh, interesting.
to reduce unplanned downtime by 15 to 35%. I mean, that's enormous.
Yeah, that's a big deal. How is AI actually doing that? I mean, is it somehow better at predicting these equipment failures than the traditional methods?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's not magic or anything. It's really about data, right?
Yeah.
So if you think about all the information that's coming from the sensors on a piece of equipment,
Mhm.
right? The temperature, the vibration, the pressure, AI, and in particular machine learning algorithms
Mm-hmm.
can analyze this data in real time, and they can look for those really subtle shifts
Okay.
that might indicate that a problem's brewing.
So instead of relying on like a fixed maintenance schedule,
Right.
you're letting the machine kind of tell you when it needs attention.
Exactly. And it can pick up on those early warning signs that a human might just completely miss,
Yeah.
allowing for much more targeted and efficient interventions.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But I think what I'm even more intrigued by is the bigger picture here.
Okay.
Is AI fundamentally changing the way we think about operations as a whole?
Absolutely. I think we're seeing a shift from what the report calls a process-centric model
Mm-hmm.
to an intelligent operations model.
Interesting.
And traditionally, businesses have really focused on optimizing individual processes, right, in isolation. But what AI allows us to do is connect all those dots and create systems that are much more adaptable and responsive.
So it's kind of moving from a siloed approach to a more holistic, kind of interconnected system.
Exactly. And this shift is being driven by, I think, several factors. We talked about the need for resilience in the face of all these disruptions.
Yeah.
But there's also the ever-increasing pressure to do more with less, right?
Right. Costs are
Yeah.
rising across the board from raw materials to energy to labor. Everybody's feeling the squeeze.
Exactly. And AI offers a really powerful way to combat those rising costs by boosting efficiency and productivity.
Okay.
The report actually states that raw material costs alone have gone up an average of 18% since 2020. Yeah, so AI can actually help to offset those increases by optimizing how we allocate resources, reducing waste streamlining processes.
It sounds like AI is becoming a must-have, not just a nice-to-have
I think that's
for
right.
businesses that want to stay competitive.
And then on top of that, you've got the issue of this growing skills gap.
Yep.
The report really highlights that there's a real shortage of qualified workers in those key operational areas,
Oh, like-
like manufacturing, logistics, supply chain management.
So is AI automating jobs away, or?
It's more nuanced than that. While AI can automate some tasks, it's also about augmenting human capabilities.
Okay.
For example, AI systems can help workers with complex decision-making, right? They can provide real-time training and guidance.
Mhm.
They can even help transfer knowledge from those really experienced employees to newer ones.
That's really interesting. So it's not human versus machine. It's more like how can we get them to work together more effectively?
Precisely. And the report really suggests that this kind of human AI collaboration is essential for achieving the full potential of AI.
Mm.
It's about combining the strengths of both to create something that's truly greater than the sum of its parts.
So we've got this confluence of factors,
Yeah.
the disruptions, the
Yeah.
rising costs, the skills gap,
Right.
all pushing businesses towards AI adoption.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one thing to talk about the potential.
Right.
It's another to see real results.
Yeah.
Where are we actually seeing AI making a tangible difference in operations today?
So that's where it gets really interesting. The report actually breaks down the AI adoption landscape into 4 maturity levels.
Okay.
And these range from companies that are just kind of starting to experiment with AI all the way up to those who are using it to orchestrate their entire operations.
Oh, maturity levels.
Yeah.
I like it. Where do most companies fall on this spectrum?
Well, about 30% of companies are at what they call the reactive level, and they're using AI in a very limited way, maybe for basic quality inspection or something like that. Okay. Then you've got the integrated level, and that's where we see about 45% of companies.
Right.
And they're starting to deploy AI across multiple workflows, things like optimizing their production scheduling or managing inventory.
So they're moving beyond those isolated use cases and starting to kind of see the bigger picture.
Exactly. And it's really the next 2 levels that are super exciting.
Huh.
About 20% of companies have reached what they call the autonomous level.
Okay.
And at this level, AI is actually making decisions with limited human intervention.
Wow.
So you can think of self-adjusting systems that can dynamically reconfigure production lines or, optimize logistics in real time.
Whoa, that sounds both impressive and a little bit scary.
It's happening, and the report highlights this fascinating finding. Companies at these higher maturity levels are seeing significant performance gains.
Okay.
On average, they're 4.2 times more efficient.
Yeah.
And 3.5 times more resilient than those at the lower levels.
Those are some serious numbers. That definitely makes a strong case for pushing AI adoption further.
Yeah.
But let's get down to brass tacks here.
Huh.
Are we talking about tangible ROI, or is this all just potential and promises?
Oh, the ROI is absolutely there, and it's substantial.
Yeah.
The report dives into specific figures, and they're pretty compelling. We're talking about 15 to 35% reductions in unplanned downtime.
Wow.
20 to 50% improvements in quality metrics, 10 to 30% reductions in inventory carrying costs.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. This is not just some futuristic concept anymore.
Right.
AI is actually delivering real value for businesses that are embracing it.
Exactly. And those are just averages. In specific cases, the ROI can be even more dramatic.
That's awesome. So this is all incredibly exciting, but it's also kind of a lot to take in.
Yeah.
Where do we even begin to unpack all the specific ways that AI is being applied in operations?
Well, the report actually does a great job of breaking down kind of those key market segments where AI is making the biggest impact. And in each segment really highlights how AI is being tailored to solve, these unique operational challenges.
Okay, perfect. Let's dive into those segments then.
Okay.
Where should we start?
Well, given all the supply chain chaos that we've seen lately, I think it's fitting to start with what the report calls intelligent supply chain orchestration.
Oh, yeah.
And this segment really dives into how AI can bring a whole new level of visibility and control to what's traditionally been a very complex and often opaque system.
Right, because it's not just about managing your own internal operations anymore.
Right.
It's about understanding and responding to events that are happening across your entire supply network, often in real time.
Exactly. I mean, imagine having a system that could monitor every supplier, every shipment, every warehouse, and then use AI to predict potential disruptions before they snowball into major problems.
That sounds amazing in theory. How does it actually work in practice? What kind of data are we talking about?
It's a fascinating blend of information. I mean, these AI platforms are pulling in data from all sorts of sources, everything from sensor data on shipments to weather patterns to even social media sentiment.
Wow.
They're analyzing news feeds for, political instability. They're tracking port congestion. There's even factoring in things like economic indicators and commodity prices.
So AI is basically sifting through this massive sea of data, connecting the dots, and finding patterns that humans might completely miss.
Precisely. And it's not just about identifying potential problems either.
Yeah.
AI can also be used to actually optimize the entire flow of goods through your supply chain.
Right.
It can help determine, the most efficient transportation routes. It can dynamically adjust inventory levels based on real-time demand fluctuations.
Hmm.
It can even automate key processes like warehouse picking and packing.
It's like having an AI-powered air traffic controller for your entire supply chain,
That's a great analogy.
just constantly making adjustments to ensure that everything's running smoothly.
And the market for these platforms is booming. The report predicts that it will reach $16.2 billion by 2028.
Wow. So businesses are clearly recognizing the value of AI in this area.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got AI kind of keeping our supply chains humming. What's next on the AI hit list?
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit and talk about something that's critical for any business that relies on physical equipment.
Okay.
Predictive maintenance and asset performance management.
Oh, that's a good one. Unplanned downtime can be a real nightmare, both in terms of lost production and just the cost of emergency repairs.
Absolutely. And this is where AI is proving to be a real game changer. Instead of waiting for something to break down, AI-powered systems can analyze data from sensors, from historical maintenance records, even things like weather conditions, to predict when a piece of equipment is likely to fail.
So it's like having a crystal ball for your equipment,
Yeah.
allowing you to address potential problems before they turn into major headaches.
Exactly. And the benefits go beyond just avoiding downtime,
Okay.
by extending the life of their assets. Businesses can defer those costly replacements and optimize their maintenance spending.
Okay.
The report highlights cases where companies using AI for predictive maintenance have seen reductions in unplanned downtime of 15 to 35%.
That's a pretty compelling argument for AI-powered maintenance.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, how does this differ from like the traditional approach of preventative maintenance?
Yeah.
Those regular checkups based on a set schedule.
It's a fundamental shift from reactive to proactive maintenance.
Okay.
Right, so traditional schedules are often based on the manufacturer's recommendations,
Yeah.
which might not be tailored to your specific operating conditions or usage patterns.
Right. So you might end up doing too much maintenance, wasting time and money, or not enough, and then leading to those unexpected failures.
Exactly. With AI, you're moving to a data-driven approach. The system is constantly learning from the equipment's actual performance data, allowing it to recommend maintenance only when it's truly needed.
It's like giving your equipment a voice, allowing it to tell you when it needs attention.
I like that.
What other AI-powered solutions are kind of shaking up the world of operations?
Okay, so one that's particularly interesting is autonomous quality inspection and control.
Okay.
And this segment dives into how AI is being used to automate and enhance what's traditionally been a very manual and often subjective process.
Quality control is so critical, but it can also be a real bottleneck, especially if you're relying on human inspectors to catch every little flaw.
Exactly. But imagine a system where cameras and sensors are constantly scanning products and components and using AI to identify even the tiniest defects that a human eye might miss.
So it's like having a superhuman inspector on the line 24/7.
Yeah, pretty much. And
Yeah.
the AI behind this is a powerful combination of computer vision and machine learning. These systems are trained on vast data sets of images, learning to recognize patterns and anomalies that indicate a defect.
Wow.
They can even analyze the root causes of these defects and provide feedback to adjust production parameters in real time.
So AI isn't just catching problems after they occur, it's actually helping to prevent them from happening in the first place.
Precisely. And by automating these inspection tasks, businesses can free up their human inspectors to focus on more complex issues and continuous improvement initiatives.
It's another example of how AI can augment human capabilities, leading to better outcomes overall. Okay, so AI is optimizing our supply chains, it's keeping our equipment running smoothly, it's ensuring top-notch quality what other operational areas are getting an AI makeover.
Okay, so let's talk about two more, adaptive production planning and scheduling,
Okay.
and autonomous logistics and warehouse operations.
Ooh, those sound good.
And these segments really showcase how AI is helping businesses adapt to, increasingly dynamic and complex environments.
Okay, let's start with production planning. I imagine AI can be really helpful in dealing with all the variables that go into creating an efficient production schedule.
Absolutely. Adaptive production planning and scheduling is all about using AI to dynamically adjust production plans in response to changing demand.
So I can stress.
Supply constraints, even unforeseen events. So think about a system that can automatically optimize production schedules allocate resources efficiently, and ensure that you're always meeting customer demand, even when things go sideways.
That's a dream for any production manager. No more scrambling to adjust plans manually or dealing with bottlenecks.
Right. And the report highlights companies that have seen, significant improvements in throughput, improved on time delivery rates, even reduced inventory costs.
Okay.
And the market for these solutions is projected to reach $10.5 billion by 2028.
Color me impressed. Okay, now let's talk about those AI-powered warehouses.
Okay.
That one sounds particularly intriguing.
Yeah. Autonomous logistics and warehouse operations really is like something out of a sci-fi movie.
Right.
This is where AI and robotics are coming together to automate and optimize everything from picking and packing to inventory management to even last mile delivery.
So we're talking about robots whizzing around warehouses, picking orders with superhuman speed and accuracy.
You got it. Think self-driving forklifts, robots that can identify and retrieve items from shelves, AI systems that can dynamically adjust warehouse layouts based on real-time demand patterns.
Yeah, that's mind-blowing. I can also hear the whirring of robots and the beeping of scanners.
And the market for these solutions is exploding. The report predicts a whopping $18.3 billion market size by 2028.
Wow.
Growing at a rate of about 38%.
It sounds like AI is poised to completely revolutionize the way we think about logistics and warehouse operations.
Yeah.
But it's not just about robots. There's still a critical role for humans in these AI-powered environments.
Absolutely. It's not about replacing humans. It's about empowering them. Okay.
For example, AI systems can provide workers with real-time guidance. They can help them make better decisions. They can even alert them to potential safety hazards.
So it's about creating a safer, more efficient, and ultimately more fulfilling work environment.
Exactly. And this theme of human AI collaboration really runs through all of these segments. It's clear that the most successful AI implementations are those that focus on enhancing human capabilities, not replacing them entirely.
That's really encouraging to hear. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from supply chains to predictive maintenance to robots and warehouses. Are there any specific examples in the report that really stand out to you, your real-world cases where AI is making a tangible difference?
What really jumped out at me was the discussion of how AI is being tailored to meet the unique needs of different industries.
Okay.
It's not just a generic, AI for operations approach anymore. There's a deeper level of specialization happening.
Well, that's interesting. Tell me more about that. Well, the report dives into some fascinating examples. For instance, in the chemical and refining industries,
Okay.
we're seeing the emergence of specialized AI platforms that are designed to optimize complex production processes.
Okay.
These platforms can analyze vast amounts of data from sensors and control systems to find ways to maximize throughput, minimize resource consumption, and ensure product quality, all while meeting those strict regulatory requirements.
So it's about finding that sweet spot where efficiency, sustainability, and profitability all kind of come together.
Exactly. And it's not just about tweaking existing processes. AI can also be used to develop entirely new production methods that were previously impossible. And this is where the report's discussion of emerging innovation opportunities gets really exciting.
Okay, I'm officially intrigued. Let's talk about those emerging innovations. What kind of future are we looking at when it comes to AI in operations? Well, spill the beans. What kind of game-changing innovations are we talking about?
Well, one that really caught my eye is the concept of autonomous operations centers.
Oh, wow.
Imagine a control center environment where AI is doing more than just providing data. It's actively assisting with decision-making, even orchestrating responses across entire operational domains.
So instead of having humans constantly monitoring dashboards and reacting to alerts,
Right.
AI is stepping in to help analyze the situation, prioritize actions, and even execute responses autonomously.
Exactly. And this doesn't mean humans are out of the loop entirely. Of course, it's about freeing them up from those routine tasks so they can focus on the things that really require human intuition, creativity, and strategic thinking.
It sounds like a really powerful partnership, allowing humans and AI to each play to their strengths.
Yeah.
What other innovations are kind of on the horizon?
Another one that's really fascinating is generative engineering for operations.
Okay.
And this is where AI is being used to actually design and optimize operational elements, things like factory layouts, production schedules, even maintenance procedures.
So instead of relying on human engineers to design these things from scratch, we're letting AI take the lead.
It's more about AI and humans working together.
Okay.
AI can analyze massive amounts of data, identify patterns, and and generate optimized designs that might not be obvious to a human engineer. It
Mhm.
can explore, thousands of potential solutions in the time it would take a human to consider a handful.
That's incredible. It's like having an AI-powered brainstorming partner that can help you kind of push the boundaries of what's possible.
Exactly. And the report highlights some really intriguing possibilities.
Okay.
For example, imagine using generative engineering to create a hyper-efficient warehouse layout
Okay.
that minimizes travel time for robots, optimizes storage space, and even factors in things like energy consumption and worker safety.
That's next level stuff.
Right.
It's like taking those warehouse robots we talked about earlier
Yeah.
and giving them an AI architect to design their perfect playground.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
And the report also touches on some other exciting areas like multi-agent systems for operational orchestration, where you have multiple specialized AI agents working together to manage complex environments, kind of like a team of experts collaborating to solve a problem.
So instead of one monolithic AI system trying to do it all,
Right.
you have a network of smaller, more focused AIs working together.
Exactly. And this offers a lot of advantages in terms of flexibility, scalability, and resilience.
Okay.
If one agent goes down, the others can pick up the slack. And because each agent is specialized, they can be really good at what they do.
It sounds like the future of AI and operations is all about collaboration both between humans and AI
Yeah.
and between different AI systems.
I think that's right. It's about building these interconnected intelligent systems that can adapt and learn and constantly improve.
Okay, so the future looks bright, but let's get real for a minute.
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges that businesses need to be aware of when it comes to implementing AI in their operations?
Right.
Because it can't all be smooth sailing, right?
You're absolutely right. AI is a powerful tool, but it's not a magic bullet. And the report highlights several key challenges that businesses really need to consider.
Let's talk about those. What are some of the big ones?
Well, one of the biggest is data quality and accessibility.
Okay.
AI systems are only as good as the data they're trained on.
Right.
And in many operational environments, data is fragmented, it's inconsistent, or even missing altogether.
So you might have all this valuable information locked away in different systems.
Right.
But if you can't access it or trust its accuracy, it's not going to do you much good.
Exactly. So businesses need to invest in data infrastructure and governance to ensure that their data is AI ready.
Okay.
That means breaking down data silos, standardizing formats, and implementing processes to ensure data quality.
It sounds like a pretty big undertaking, especially for companies with legacy systems and years of accumulated data.
It can be, but it's a critical step. Garbage in, garbage out, as they say.
Okay, so data quality is a big one. What else?
Another challenge is the complexity of integrating IT and OT systems. Traditionally, these have been very separate worlds, with IT focused on managing information and OT focused on controlling those physical processes.
Right. But with AI, you need those worlds to come together, right?
Yeah.
Because AI systems need access to data from both sides to make informed decisions.
Exactly. And this integration can be quite challenging. You're dealing with different systems, different protocols, even different cultures.
Right.
It requires careful planning collaboration between those IT and OT teams, and often the expertise of third-party vendors who specialize in this type of integration.
It sounds like a recipe for headaches if you're not careful.
It can be, but the good news is that there are a lot of resources available to help businesses navigate this integration process.
Okay, so we've got data challenges, integration complexities. What other hurdles do businesses need to be aware of?
Well, one that's often overlooked is workforce adaptation.
Okay.
AI is changing the nature of work and operations, and businesses need to prepare their employees for these new ways of working.
So it's not just about implementing the technology, it's about getting your people on board.
Absolutely. Businesses need to invest in training and upskilling programs to help their employees develop the skills they need to work effectively alongside AI systems.
What kinds of skills are we talking about?
It's a mix of technical skills like data literacy and basic AI understanding and what we call soft skills. Things like critical thinking, problem solving, the ability to collaborate effectively with both humans and machines.
It sounds like a pretty significant shift in the way people need to think about their roles.
It is, and that can lead to some resistance from employees who are worried about AI taking their jobs.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So how do you address those concerns?
Communication is key. It's about being transparent with employees, about how AI will be used and the impact it will have on their roles.
Right.
It's also important to emphasize that AI is a tool to augment human capabilities, not replace them.
It's about framing it as a partnership, not a competition.
Exactly. And it's about helping employees see the opportunities that AI can create.
AI can automate those repetitive, mundane tasks, freeing up humans to focus on more interesting and challenging work.
So it's about creating a more fulfilling work experience, not just a more efficient one.
Exactly. And then there are the technical challenges, of course.
Yeah.
AI systems in operational environments often need to operate in real time,
Right.
making decisions and taking actions in a matter of seconds.
That makes sense. If you're relying on AI to manage a production line or logistics network, any delays could have a ripple effect throughout the entire system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you need AI systems that can keep up with the pace of operations, which requires robust infrastructure-efficient algorithms, and often a hybrid approach that combines edge computing with cloud-based processing.
Sounds like a pretty complex equation to get right.
It can be. And then there's the issue of reliability.
Wow.
AI systems in operational environments need to be dependable.
Right.
Any glitches or malfunctions could have serious consequences.
So it's not just about getting the right answers, it's about getting them consistently and without any hiccups. Exactly. This puts a premium on rigorous testing, validation, and ongoing monitoring to ensure that AI systems are performing as expected and that there are fail-safe mechanisms in place in case something goes wrong.
Okay, so we've got data challenges, integration complexities, workforce adaptation needs, and the technical hurdles of real-time operation and system reliability.
Right.
Anything else businesses should be aware of?
One more thing that's often overlooked is the difficulty of measuring ROI for AI in operations.
Yeah, but I thought we established that AI is delivering real, tangible ROI. You were just talking about all those impressive figures.
It is, but it's not always easy to quantify. The benefits of AI often extend beyond that initial use case, creating ripple effects throughout the organization.
So how do you measure those ripple effects?
That's the challenge. The report really emphasizes the need for businesses to establish clear KPIs and measurement frameworks before implementing AI.
Okay.
This way they can accurately track the impact across different areas and make a strong case for continued investment.
It sounds like implementing AI successfully is a lot more complex than just buying some software and flipping a switch.
It is. It requires careful planning, a deep understanding of your operational needs, and a willingness to embrace change.
This has been an incredible deep dive. We've covered so much ground, from the incredible potential of AI in operations to the very real challenges and considerations that businesses need to address.
Yeah.
If there's one key takeaway for our listener, what would it be?
I think the most important thing is to remember that AI is not a one-size-fits-all solution.
Okay.
It's about finding the right tools and applications that can address your unique operational challenges and help you achieve your specific business goals. And it's about recognizing that AI is not a replacement for human expertise, but rather a powerful tool to augment and empower your workforce.
That's such a great point. It's about finding the right balance between human intelligence and artificial intelligence.
Right.
And using them together to create a more efficient, resilient, and ultimately more human-centric approach to operations.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
This has been such an insightful discussion. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive.
My pleasure was all mine.
And for our listeners, if you're eager to learn more about AI and operations, we encourage you to check out that research report from Kognition.Info. It's full of fascinating insights and data that can help you navigate this exciting new world.
And remember, this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
As AI technology continues to advance, we can expect to see even more incredible innovations emerge in the years to come.
Absolutely. It's an exciting time to be following this space. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.